Hi everyone. In this video I'll continue working on the car from Cyberpunk 2077. In the last part I've moved it in the new room where it'll be assembling till the very end. In this part 1 want to bring all sides and lines to relative ideal, and to make them symmetric in order to take off the matrix from them for the future forms for fiberglass plastic body. After all, I reflected the bumper and first of all I want to replace it. Also last time, I applied a ready single component hard putty for test, because I don't want to waste my money and buy some automobile putty in large quantities. At the end I'll count how many kilos I've spent on all the body. Putty has dried and now it needs to be treated. For this purpose I took special bars of different size and emery tape with granularity of 40 and 80. It was easy to grind and I thought I could putty all the body. But to continue the work we need to remove the cutter strips, which can also be easily put away with emery paper. By the way, during all the work process I never changed my emery paper, and I was rubbing this car for a month. As I'd begun with this side I'd continue working on it. This process needs many pallets. I bought pallets of different sizes, and took the same open putty remained from the repair. The purpose of this putty was to remove pores, seams, defects, and foam details rejects. They practically cover each centimeter of foam ingots, so it was much easier to apply this putty in thin layer on all the planes at once. This single component structure has only one disadvantage: time of drying. The first layer dries about a day, but the following layers above it dry in a couple of hours depending on layer thickness. Fan can improve this situation and considerably reduce time. On the right side of the back bumper is the most awful place, which was incredibly difficult to correct. I began the procedure with the foam as it filled all defects well, and after drying it was possible to cut out new lines and sides from it. I also filled the right side with it, a defect of the torn belt on the CNC machine. It's good that there is a lot of place in such big car, and while one thing dries you can start another and process will be continuous. Here's one more nice surprise: the assembly foam can be well processed by the emery paper and doesn't even ram it. As I'm doing this for the first time I want to try alabaster as putty. Maybe it'll accelerate the process of body backfit. It stiffens in only a few minutes. It really stiffened after application, but there was moisture in it which prevented processing and evaporated as long as from the ready putty. So I continued working with a ready single component structure. As it was drying I corrected the back bumper, tried to make all strips parallel and direct. For waves alignment, I used a bar wrapped in emery paper. Strips of the bumper were crooked in all planes, and we even needed to increase them a little. As the bumper was drying I sanded the side. The emery paper clogged pretty quickly, but you could also quickly shake it off and continue working. The first pass turned out to be normal, and I gradually began to get used to work with this putty, and even liked it, but only during the first week. I'll close these windows as they'll cause inconveniences in matrix production. I'll cut them on the already made details. It is much more pleasant to apply putty the second time, as it well lays down on the previous layer, if of course there is no dust on it. I hardly leveled the back bumper and also puttied it. As the bumper and the sides were drying I puttied the front part. Before puttying the cowl I closed a hole in it with a foam bar. The front part of the cowl consists of a lot of segments. Before treating it with putty they need to be reduced to a common denominator and all steps should be removed. I also removed all assembly foam from the patch. Now we need to putty this entire thing. First jar of putty came to end. There was about 6 kilograms, and I took a new one. While the cowl was drying, I decided to putty the left side panel. But during the measurement it turned out that it was 7 mm lower. Whether it was crookedly cut out or I've forgotten about the laser level during gluing process. Anyway, it needs to be corrected. For extension, I used polyurethane foam. Now, in order the right and left sides were identical, I need to use a cross-sectional ruler. I'll make it by myself as it'll be long to order, and the radius of the purchased ones is not so big. To product the ruler, I took the most usual inexpensive electrodes. They need to be cleaned from plastering. I made this procedure in vise. To clean the bar from plastering up to the end, I clamped it in the drill and ground with emery paper. After that, I measured the layout in a row bars and cut out a holder from the board for them. In order the bars were kept densely between the two boards, you need to paste ribbons from the felted cloth or carpet. I haven't found them at home and just pasted tapes from the hook and loop. Further, I spread out bars and twisted boards among themselves. That's how I got the cross-sectional ruler. Now we can measure different parts and make them identical. You can easily find out where there's lack of material. But to make all this we need to finish the right side, and to make a sample for the left one from it. While the side panel is drying from the next covering of putty, I continue working on the back bumper. At last it began to get equal symmetric forms. During the gluing I absolutely forgot that side panels must have steps, so we have to remove the excess putty. Now everything is all right. The left side panel is ready, so now it's possible to take measurements and make the right side panel. I'll make several beacons from the putty, and will cover the entire side panel according to their height. I made beacons through each 10 centimeters. After their drying I puttied the entire side panel, and one more jar of 10 kilograms became empty. And that's because I was making the right side together with the side panel. I puttied the fender again, and let it dry. It will be difficult to make the air ducts on the hood look alike. I'll probably cut them before making matrices, and make a separate form from which I'll glue 2 identical air ducts. The front bumper didn't cause much problem, but still the left side turned out to be defective. While I was busy with the bumper, the left wing dried up and became a mirror image of the right wing. The bumper also dried up, and I left it as it was. The rest backfit will be made with a 2-component putty. The front pillars and the side frames of the doors should be extracted from the foam so it'd be possible to glue the volume elements together, and not just the outer surface. I aligned the back wings normally. Surprisingly, one stuck out a little. I also removed all seams and irregularities. After drying I measured all sides with a ruler and everything seemed to coincide. I prepared the body as much as the finished putty allowed it. Now I want to paint everything with an acrylic paint. It will act as a primer and show all minor irregularities. I added gray color. The paint turned out thick, so I added a little water and the process went on. This is what we've got. Just amazing how this dark color suits this car. In the next video I'll try to make first matrices. And that's all for today. Thanks everyone for your attention and support. See you in the next video.